Can't get me down, man.
Obviously not.
I'm ready, man.
Obviously not. So before we start into everything, because I've got a bunch to talk with you about, Jim, how are you handling the pandemic? How's the family handling the pandemic? How are you?
Well, we're doing exactly what we've been told to do. Agree, disagree. I put myself on voluntary quarantine, and so I've stayed away from the stores and the people. But just recently, in the past couple of weeks, we've spent time with our grandchildren and our children, which is really, 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 really important to us. So we started hugging again, started spending time together again. Sometimes I wonder if the cure isn't worse than the disease itself, the virus itself. So
right.
I don't know. I think I just personally, I've had enough. I work very hard on self-care. I think that's really the message that we need to embrace. So I'm working on Jim Shorkey. What can I do to, when his first hit, I did a lot of research into improving my immune system and bought all kinds of special teas and working on just different aspects of my diet, my meditation, my sleep, my movement. There's probably 7 pillars that I work on to improve Jim Shorkey, so that when I do get COVID-19, that I can kick it the heck out of me. So I'm okay. I've been fine. I really have.
Yeah, and I think that it's been difficult, I think, for a lot of people to get past the initial fear, because I think the way it was presented to the public initially was it was very, very scary, and the numbers that potentially could happen in terms of illness and death were very high.
Absolutely.
So once you worked past that, or once the critical thinking person works past the initial fear, it's okay, what can I do to be the best me to combat this if I'm confronted with it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And I'm a big believer in the internal locus of control versus the external locus of control. Internal meaning everything's my responsibility, everything's my fault. External meaning I'm a victim, I'm playing a blame game. I just took this time, I really took this time to do something good. To be in control of Jim Shorkey, and so actually during COVID-19 is when I first started doing Facebook Live, and I didn't know left from right, up from down, and I just started doing it, and initially, it wasn't real good, but I got better at it, and I really feel in my heart, inside here, that I'm giving people a message that is the message I use to build the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, a message I use to build the Jim Shorkey you're seeing here right now, a message that I didn't use or that I ignored to wreck what's sitting in front of you right now, creating health issues, for example. So I've really taken this time to really engineer what it is I want to do with the next 60 years of my life, moving towards the goal, which you and I talked about earlier, 122. I'm 63.
Right.
And how do I get there? And feeling sorry for Jim Shorkey is just not part of the game.
Yeah, it's not a good strategy for anyone.
Not for me.
Yeah, there's no question about it. So I want to spend some time getting your unique story. But before we get into that, let's just get right into I call it a movement. I don't know if you're comfortable with that or not.
I am, very much so. But, I want it to be a movement.
And I'm sure your story ties into that as well. So you take it any direction you want, but I really am interested in anyone who is there and geared towards self-improvement and willing to share that. That's right up my wheelhouse, and it has been for 25 odd years now. So you have an open ear for me, my friend. So
I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, and then we can pick it apart from there.
Fair enough.
1998, 2 years after my father died. My father died on March 24th, 1996. And if I was half as smart as I thought I was when my dad died, I would have been pretty darn smart. And so I proceeded to run his business, which was in business for 22 years, according to my way of thinking. Very arrogant, very egotistical. This was my chance. I was going to rock and roll. 2 years later, I'm bankruptcy imminent. And I was already involved with self-development, which is a whole other story, for approximately 5 years, but I wasn't necessarily executing in totality what I should have been executing. Consequently, I ended up bankruptcy imminent, and I decided at that time that I was so desperate, I was demoralized, I felt terrible about myself. I decided to take the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and implement that book 100%. And so he tells you in the book, in the chapter, I think it's in the chapter on imagination, he says, before you put this book down, read it at least 3 times, because then you're not going to want to stop. And I took that very seriously. So I read the book 3 times. and I did what he told me to do, and the needle started to move. And one of the things he told me to do was to seek expert counsel, which is really a great idea. Find somebody who's smarter than you, go talk to them, and figure out what the heck they're doing to be so smart, and just copy them. You know, trial and error is a recipe for disaster. It takes too long, and the errors can be deadly. So anyways, one of the things I did was I went to Mr. Hamilton, who was my dad's former partner and actually brought my dad into the automobile business. And I go into Mr. Hamilton's office, just like you and I are sitting here right now. You're Mr. Hamilton, I'm Jim Shorkey. And I sat down with Mr. Hamilton, and I told him, I said, I'm lost. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I said, you know, if you could be so kind as to give me a list of 10 things that I should be doing to be a great car dealer, I would really appreciate that. And he said, he called me James. He said, James, you know, let me think about that. Come back tomorrow. I'll have a list for you. So I come back the next morning, and he has this list, and I start doing the list, exactly what he told me to do. And again, I saw the needle start to move. So I took that, I taught the Chrysler Financial, I taught the GMAC. Chrysler Financial was the Jeep financial arm, GMAC was the Oldsmobile financial arm. Taught the NADA, which was our trade group, you know, think tank type thing. Talked to Al Lazar with Irwin Bank and Trust. Talked to Tom Eugen, my CPA. I talked to, as I said, NADA. Got involved with think tanks. Kept asking. Kept hooked up with Mr. Hamilton. Just kept asking and kept reading the book Think and Grow Rich per the instructions. I've read that book, by the way, 142 times.
Wow.
142 times.
Wow.
And so the business just literally exploded. Went from one dealership, roughly 40 employees, to where today, because it's still growing, I'm out. The boys and girls, my children and their significant others have taken this business and doubled the size of it since I've left, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. Wow. They've doubled the size of it. It's now 600 employees. And they sell more cars in a month than I sold in a year.
Wow.
This is what they've done. Anyways, so I always knew that my problem was arrogance back in the day. I knew that. I figured that out. And so I said, well, boy, if I could just get out of this, I'll never be arrogant again. And so I figured out, once I did get out of it, that being arrogant was a mistake. And so I thought, you know, someday I want to share this message with the world. And I was flying high. I was still a car dealer at the time, but I have it written in my journal. And it's very clearly written, you know, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And I decided I was going to have this training company where I would teach people what I was taught. And I really feel that if I take this information to the grave with me, that that would be a very selfish thing to do. So nobody told me no. Nobody told me no. You didn't tell me no. And so Mr. Hamilton didn't tell me no. And so why would I even think about not telling people no? So I just want to get this message out there as to what I did. I really do believe that anybody could do what I did, not necessarily in the automobile business, because that's not what you want to do. But if you apply my principles to the real estate business, then it's going to blow up for you in a very, very positive way. Or your health, or your relationship. You mentioned, you know, your family, that's important to you. You're a father. You can become a better father with my principles that I got from other people. Nothing I tell you is my idea, not one thing. So I always, not always, I think it was like 2004, that I'm not positive, but it's in my journal. I should have brought it. And I always, or I felt at that time, as I thought about it, that I was very fortunate and that I had great mentors. And so I wanted to become a great mentor someday. And that's what my movement is all about. It's about me mentoring a person who wants to move their needle the way I wanted to move my needle, but just didn't know how. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Long answer to a short question.
No, that's a good answer. And that leads me some avenues to discuss with you. When you talked about arrogance and coming to the realization, would you not agree sometimes that the best thing for anyone is to be humble enough to realize one's own deficiencies, because you can't take action on them until you actually internally realize them, correct?
No question about it, yeah. So, you know, I got beat up real bad. It was really bad. Imagine that, you know, my father, first of all, my father died, which is in and of itself a really, really bad thing, a hard thing to get over. You're going through that right now. It's a really difficult thing. So my father died. And now I'm the Johnny on the spot. I'm running his business. I'm the guy, and I blew it, you know. So not only do I have my dad to look at and look in the mirror. I got to look myself in the mirror. I'm looking at my dad at the same time. My mom was involved. My sister was involved. My brother-in-law was involved. My brother was involved. And it was a family business. And I messed up. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I figured out what happened. It was arrogance. And as a matter of fact, in the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, there's 3 rules that we have. 3 rules, 3 laws. Number one goal of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group is to love the customer. Love the customer. And I really do mean love the customer, because if we don't love our customers, there's not going to be any customers. The number 2 goal, the second number 1 goal of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, 2 number 1 goals, is to love the team. Because if we don't love our team and respect our team and hug our team, then there's not going to be anybody to love the customers. So we felt that we needed to love the customer and love the team equally as much, right? And so if you do number 1 and number 2 really, really well, love the customer, love the team, if you do that really, really well, you get to be incredibly successful. You sell a lot of cars, you make a lot of money, you get a lot of nice things. And the number 1 enemy of any successful enterprise, be it a business, a church, a marriage, whatever that would be, the number 1 enemy of any successful enterprise is arrogance. Arrogance tears apart more businesses, more families, more relationships. Arrogance. I'm better than you. It tears it apart. And so I knew that from my experience back in 1998. And so I made that my 3rd rule. And my 3rd rule, the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, which is almost number 1, is to keep it very, very, very humble. And I have 3 varies in there for a reason, to keep it very, very, very humble, because I knew what the arrogance had done to me, and I wasn't going to let that happen. And so surprisingly, as I ran the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, the number 1 violation was not love the customer, was not love the team. It was number 3. And I had to sit people down and say, hold on a second. It gives me the chills. Like, let's not forget the mission here. You, my friend, young man, young lady, because a lot of them were younger than me, you're arrogant. You're arrogant. And this needs to stop, or you need to go. You need to go.
That's simple, huh?
It's that simple, yeah. We couldn't allow that to happen. We would mess up with loving the customer, and it usually was a legit mistake, and we dealt with it. Or we would mess up with loving the team, and it usually was a legit mistake, and we would deal with it.
Right.
But we couldn't deal with your arrogance. We just couldn't. You had to change that. We couldn't change that for you. And if you messed up with the customers too often, or messed up with the team too often, then you had to go as well. But that really didn't happen. We had a culture that supported what it was that we wanted. And then the people that, it wasn't like we had to get rid of people because of not loving the customer, not loving the team. They just left because it wasn't what they wanted to do. It wasn't part of their culture. But that arrogance thing, arrogant people, you've met arrogant people. It's really a very, very, it's a really, really sad story, and a very, I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. I really don't. I hate it.
We tend to be victims of our own ego and not being able to keep that raging. Because I think we all of us have an ego.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's just a matter of keeping it in check and understanding it and dealing with it.
Yeah.
But when it gets the best of a human, it's not a pretty picture.
Did you ever put your hand in a bucket of water? When you pull it out, the space that's left is how important you are.
That's a good way of looking at it.
It is. It really is. Like, you're inconsequential. There's 8 billion people in the world. What makes you think you're so great? I mean, you're just one. And by the way, 100 years from now, nobody's going to even know you were here. So, you carry your legacy with you, and you're creating it today. You're writing your book today, one chapter at a time, and it's just, there's no place for arrogance, at least not in my world. And when I see it, it really bothers me. I remember I was out to dinner with a very good friend of mine, and we're having dinner, and this particular gentleman was literally barking at the waitress, barking, and I'm like, man, I just don't like that. And so everybody get up to leave, and I said, you know what, guys, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I did actually go to the bathroom. Came back, sat down at the table by myself because they left. I said, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You guys leave. I'm good. Sat at the table, and the young lady comes over, and I said, I want to apologize to you for the way that gentleman talked to you. I said, I just don't like that. And the young lady said, oh, that's okay. That's the way he is. It doesn't bother me. I said, you know what? It bothers me. And I introduced myself. I said, my name's Jim Shorkey, and here's my business card. If I can ever be of service to you, please, give me a call. I apologize. I don't want it to be like that, blah, blah, blah. And literally, and it wasn't my intention at all. A couple months later, she buys a car from the dealership, I was like, That wasn't why I did it. I just didn't like the arrogance. I just don't like it. And I don't like it from you, and I don't like it from me. I don't like it from anybody. And I object to it. And when I find myself doing that crap, because I'm not perfect, I feel very bad about it. I don't want to be an arrogant person.
Well, in sales too, correct me if I'm wrong, because in my prior life in corporate America, I was in a sales field for a long time, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's oftentimes very competitive.
It is.
And your winners, meaning those who perform the best for you, sometimes can just naturally become arrogant because that success sometimes leads to bits of it. Would you not agree?
I agree 100%. Slippery slope. You got to keep it humble, so you'll get a lot more by being humble.
No question.
And still being, you can be competitive and be humble. You don't have to be, spiking the ball. You don't. You can just I enjoy the guy that scores a touchdown and goes and hands the ball to the ref. I like that. Yeah, I don't need the celebration. I don't.
It's hard to find those anymore.
It is, but you know what? And that's fine. If you want to spike the ball, go ahead.
Right.
But that's just not me. Right. And I'm only talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else. But I don't like that. I really don't. I like to be a gentleman.
Right.
I like to, be grateful and thankful for everything. And there's just you can't be grateful and arrogant at the same time. You just can't. It's not a possibility. They're two different directions, I think.
I think a football coach said in the 70s to
yeah, I know exactly what you're going to say.
Act like you've been there before.
Yeah, it was Chuck Noll, I believe, right?
It was Noll. But I've kept that in my head. And when
I think it was Chuck Noll.
There was moments in my life where success came in prior businesses or in selling events or whatever, I just want, if you just kept a low profile, you exude that confidence. It's not arrogance, it's confidence. Like this is just part of doing business, and I'm going to go do it again next month.
Right.
It's the subtle way of saying that consistency is going to be there. Don't celebrate those moments, and don't over celebrate those moments when you really, have another goal coming in the next 30 days. So in the next 30 days, in the next 30 days. So.
I'm a strategic thinker. I think you can gather that just from a few minutes of conversations. And so I'm very big on strategy.
You're a chess player, not a checkers player.
I am, yeah. And so if you think about strategy, is gratitude a strategy? I think it is. Is please and thank you a strategy? I think it is. We were talking about that the other day on a video that I did, and we're talking about faith. Having faith in your ability to do whatever it is you want to do. Is that a strategy? It is. It really is. And so back to the issue of, act like you've been here before. That's a strategy. It's a very good strategy. And I think if I want to sell a bunch of stuff, I think I can sell literally double the stuff by being grateful and humble than I would by being arrogant and boastful. And, the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group is a testimonial to that fact. Literally bankruptcy imminent in 1998. And people really don't believe that story. They really think I'm full of crap on it. And I was sitting there with my guy, Chuck Molina, who's my partner in crime with this, what we're doing here. And I'm sitting at my dining room table a few years ago, and I said, Chuck, I can tell you don't believe me, do you? You really don't. I said, I can tell. You think I'm exaggerating. So I said, okay. I got the phone in the middle of the table. And I dialed Tom Eugen, my CPA. I said, Tom, this is Jim Shorkey. I've got you on speakerphone, just letting you know. I said, I'm sitting here with Chuck Molina. Hey, Chuck, Tom. They exchanged. And I said, Tom, what was the situation when you hooked up with me back in 1998? Because I actually had to fire my dad's accountant. Imagine that. Yeah, I had to fire him because he just wasn't giving me the information that I needed. He was holding information from me, and so I had to fire him. And I brought on a new accountant based on a recommendation from a good friend. Brought him in. Anyways, I said to Tom, what was the situation? Was I bankruptcy imminent back in 1998? He started laughing over the speakerphone. He says, no. He said, Jim, you were way beyond that. He said, you were ready to fall off a cliff. And so there was, if you don't believe that I was bankruptcy imminent, that's okay. That's fine. But I was, I was, and that's really only part of the story. It's one thing to be bankruptcy imminent, but then it's another thing to take action in terms of getting out of that bankruptcy imminent. And I did, and I got out of it. But in the process of getting out of it and installing the principles from Mr. Hamilton and Chrysler Financial and GMAC and NADA and John Amato and think tanks and installing these processes, it just blew up. And that's why I know that if somebody does what I tell them to do, it's going to blow up for them as well, whether it be the car business, the real estate business, whatever. And so I knew
the same system is applicable to to pretty much anything.
Absolutely,
anything. Yeah. You mentioned journaling, and that's an area that's a soft spot for me. When I was introduced to Mr. Rohn's first book, not when he wrote his first book, but the first book came into my life in '96. I had already been journaling out of curiosity. I don't know why, but not consistently.
Yeah.
And then learning the benefits of daily writing, and I've done it ever since.
Good for you.
And I've got most of it is and I find more satisfaction with handwriting than I do with. There's something tangible there. It slows me down because I can type much faster than I can write, and it's just it's a cathartic process. Those journals are more valuable to me, just as Rohn's mantra would be. They are more valuable to me than my bank account, my furniture, outside of experiences with my family. Nothing's more valuable to me than that life history, because of the lessons through all the hard times are in there. Those lessons have brought me to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Far from perfect, but a better version of me than I was throughout those prior years.
Yes.
So how did journaling come into your life? How long have you done it? What do you get out of journaling?
So I have a different version of journaling than what you're going to hear from most people. It might be something that I did create myself. I don't know where I got the idea, but I call it discipline journaling. So the first step in discipline journaling is, figuring out what I want and why I want it. This is a really important step. So figuring out why I want it, and also figuring out what I don't want and why I don't want it. And I really do engage my fears and my hatred. And this is something that you don't hear in this space. It's like it's really bad to talk about hate and fear. But I really do hate the thought of Alzheimer's disease. I hate it. It scares the living daylights out of me. And knowing that when I'm 85, there's a 50-50 chance that I'm going to have that, that's really a scary thought. So fear and hate motivate me, per se. If I hate something, then I want to get away from that hate. And when I move away from hate, guess what? I'm moving towards love. So the first step in my journaling process is to figure out exactly what it is that I want, why I want it, and then exactly what it is that I don't want and why I don't want it, and then to employ fear and hate into that, because I think fear and hate are much more motivating than love. But that said, what I do is I do both, right? So it's not like I exclude the love portion and only focus on the hate. I do both. So I want to, if you think about it being on a continuum, so love being over here, hate being over here, if I run away from hate, where am I moving towards?
Toward love.
If I run towards love, where am I moving towards?
If you run towards love.
Towards love.
Yeah.
So what if I do both? I'm going to get there twice as fast.
Got it.
So figure out what you want, why you want it. Figure out what you don't want, why you don't want it. And then seek expert counsel. Find somebody who's smarter than you and pick their brain. Read their book, Jim Rohn, for example, and figure out what are the steps. What are the steps to get me to this goal that I have and to get me away from this anti-goal that I have. So what are the steps? And so those steps become my disciplines. So I call that my to-do list. I need to do this to move towards love. My to-not-do list, I need to stop doing this crap because this is taking me towards what I hate, Alzheimer's disease. So I developed two lists. One is my to-do list, one is my to-not-do list. If you have a headache, I'm going to sit down and talk to you, say, well, tell me some of the things you're doing. You get up in the morning and you hit yourself in the head with a hammer. I say, that's a bad idea, Eric. What the heck are you doing that for?
You may even not want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I would say that might be what's causing your headache. And then you come back and you say, well, you know what? I used to do it 3 times. I say, well, yeah, that's good that you stopped the 3, but you still got to stop the 1.
Right.
So you got to have it. What's the to not do list? Fruit Loops do not belong in this guy's body. They just don't. Green tea does. Green tea is on my to-do list. Fruit Loops are on my to-not-do list. They're both very, very valuable.
Right.
So then I take those disciplines and I write them all down, and I sit down at the end of the day and I say to myself, Jim, did you eat Fruit Loops today? Yes. I get a no. I get an X. I get a failure on that particular discipline. And Jim, did you drink your green tea today? Yes, I did. So I get a positive there. So I go down the list, check it off. It's called discipline journaling, and I go through all of my disciplines and I give myself a yes or no, and then I grade my day. And you mentioned something important, which I'll touch on. which is really, really important. But that said, I grade my day, and the number one thing I want to do here is to not beat up Jim Shorkey. That is pointless. It's the end of the day, day's over. I did or didn't do all these different disciplines. I grade my day, F, D, C, B, whatever. And so when I open up my day, I do a 24-hour reset every single day. And when I put my head in a pillow, the day's over. I set my intentions for tomorrow. I'm done. This day's done.
Right.
And I do a 24-hour reset, which means tomorrow morning it's rise and shine and mean it. I'm going to shine, right?
And it's fresh.
It's fresh. Stays fresh. Start with a clean slate. I got these disciplines. I'm going to do every single one of them. So when I get up in the morning, which is roughly 6 o'clock in the morning, my goal is 100% perfection, execution on all of my disciplines. At the end of the day, my goal is progression. Did I make progress, right? I have 43 disciplines, okay? 43. Wow. And so yesterday I got 30 done. That's a 75% score, which would be a C. It's a mediocre day. Today, I'm at the end of the day now. I didn't get my perfection, but I did get 35. 35 is better than 30. I made progress. Good job. Or again, if it's a failure, hey, okay, we're going to do better tomorrow. So I grade my day based on those disciplines. This is really important. I mean,
keeping score.
Keeping score. It really does work. And then I do what is called gratitude journaling, which that part is probably similar to what you're doing.
Yes, probably.
So my gratitude journaling is 3 things. 1, what am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for? 2, what brought me calm today? I'm very, very big on calm.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great
question.
Yeah, what brought me calm? I went for a walk in the woods. Man, I felt so good. I talked to McKenna, and we had this interview, and you know what? I really focused on being calm the whole time, and it really felt good. It brought me calm. I listened to Mozart here, and I'm going to listen to Mozart on the way home. Music like Mozart brings me calm, makes me calm. Right. So I have to think about it, reflect on it. What brought me calm today? And then thirdly, the third part of my gratitude journaling is what are 3 highlights of my day? So I could pick, this interview with McKenna. I got to drive my car. I could pick, I played Scrabble with my wife. My wife and I play Scrabble every night. It's part of our love connection. We do a coffee celebration, my wife and I. These are important disciplines. This is a discipline, so we have to make it a discipline. So therefore we either do or don't do it, and we know we did or didn't do it.
Right.
So we make it a discipline. So I have three love disciplines that come to mind. 1 is 6 hugs. I make it a point to intentionally hug my wife at least 6 times per day. 2 is Scrabble. 3 is a coffee celebration, and those are 3 of the 43. And I check them off at night, and it's like, oh, geez, we didn't do the coffee celebration day. Okay, tomorrow, intention. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Right.
Got it.
So I do the discipline journaling, and then I do the gratitude, the calm, and that takes, by the way, no more than 3 to 5 minutes. It's a very quick journaling.
Yeah, sounds like it.
What am I grateful for? What brought me calm? And what are the 3 highlights of my day? And then I close the book, and I go to sleep. And sleep, SLEEP, is a very, very important strategy. Sleep is a strategy.
No question.
It's a strategy. And if you're messing up sleep, you can eat all the broccoli you want. You're going to get unhealthy. You got to take care of your sleep, and you got to take care of your stress. So that question, what brought me calm today? I meditate every day, except for when I don't. And then I get a no. Okay, but it's really important to me to meditate. It's important for me to get outside. It's important for me to get in the sun. It's important for me to play. It's interesting. I got a call the other night from a fellow from Facebook, actually the company Facebook, and they have these coaches to help you with what it is that I'm doing.
Right.
And he said that he had to change our appointment, and so I said, well, that's no problem. Okay, that's okay. And he said, well, you want to do it right now? I said, oh, no, not right now. So I got an appointment with my wife to play Scrabble. See, I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago.
Got it.
I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago. So I had to think about that. Like, no, Eric, we can't do that right now because I'm playing Scrabble with my wife. That's important to us. And so
there's a value to you in that time with your wife. It's a value.
It's a value.
It's a discipline.
It's a value. Yeah. The disciplines create the value. And so when you look at any situation, it doesn't matter what it is. if I look at a situation and I go to work on that situation,
right,
it always improves. I can put you on the ground right now and say, how many push-ups can you do? You say, man, I can only get 10. All right, let's work on it every day. I'll call you every day. How many? And I'll have you at 50 by the end of the month.
Absolutely.
Because if you work on it, I'm working on my balance right now because I'm 63 years old.
Yeah.
And I know that as I age, balance is a really important thing.
Certainly.
So I brush my teeth on one foot. I do one-legged bodyweight squats while I'm brushing my teeth. I when I'm taking a shower, when I'm soaping myself, I'm on one foot. I get near the wall and I close my eyes. If you ever try to balance when you're closing your eyes, it's very hard.
No question.
But guess what? My balance has gotten better.
Yeah,
better. So I'm like a cat, man.
We can learn. I mean,
absolutely.
I think that's always. Would you not agree? That's always the most important thing to realize, that you can always improve.
If you keep it very, very, very humble, because if you're the smartest guy in the room,
yeah, no one likes those guys.
You're in the wrong room.
Yeah, no one likes it. Right? Good point. Yeah,
if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, that's an old.
I don't want to be in that room.
That's an old Roan tent.
No kidding.
Sure.
Yeah, I love Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn.
So talk about some of the folks that you love, some of the motivational people or the inspiring people that you've either read, met, and so forth. You've given a couple already.
Yeah. Well, Jim Rohn would be a biggie. Zig Ziglar, I love Zig Ziglar.
Zig's great.
I love Dr. Wayne Dyer. He was very helpful to me. So those were three biggies. Probably my favorite, most impactful author ever was Og Mandino, and I just love that guy.
I've read them all.
Yeah, what a story! What a story! Multiple times. I actually did them. I actually did the rag picker, where you put a rag on your lapel. I did that, and you weren't allowed to tell anybody what it was, and I forget the what you would say, but somehow you had to do, and there was readings you did every day. Well, I did that. I did it multiple times,
right.
And so Og Mandino would be a biggie.
What an amazing writer too! Just his style,
lovely.
His style was just so
he's
calming.
Yeah,
it's calming style.
He's a reformed alcoholic.
Yeah. And it's funny.
I should say, he passed. Yeah.
What's really interesting too is once I read their work, I sought out their autobiography.
Yeah.
And some have biographies, some don't, and you have to really kind of piece things together. He didn't have an autobiography, but there was people that wrote about him, about his life. Zig Ziglar's autobiography was phenomenal. If you've not read that, that's a. It's been around 20 years. It's a good one.
I mean, I know he was a pots and pans seller, door to door.
Sure he was.
He was a stud.
It's a good. I think it's just called Zig. I think it's a great book.
Love the guy. Yeah, and as far as authors are concerned, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, was a total freaking jerk. He was a big time jerk.
He's an odd guy. Napoleon was an odd guy.
But it's like the broccoli, right? Everybody you talk to about self-development, self-help, personal development, this book keeps coming up.
Constantly.
Think and Grow Rich. 100 million copies in print north of that. So it's like, I got to read this book.
They can get it for 39 cents, a used version on Amazon.
Absolutely,
39 cents can change your life.
If you do what he tells you to do, it will change your life.
It's just amazing.
No question. So he would be, and really was that challenge of being bankruptcy imminent, and number one, and my family, my dad, and all that, and being in this terrible position, and then the challenge that he presented, which was to read his book 3 times, because then you're not going to want to stop. And so I did that. Needle started to move. It's like, well, okay, I don't want to go back to that. So I kept reading it. And then I started to prosper. It's like, well, I don't want to jinx this. Well, if I start reading this, maybe the whole world caves in or whatever. So I just kept reading it. And interestingly enough, with that particular book, what happens is as you read it and you implement it, you become a different person. That's why our program is called Rethink You, because you actually are rethinking yourself.
Right.
And so the person that reads that book, reading number 143, is a totally different cat than read it 142.
I believe
it's
that.
It's uncanny.
I believe
so
that.
when you read it, you'll be reading the book and at 143, for example, and it's like, man, I don't remember. And if you see my books, like they're highlighted, starred, underlined.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, it's like I don't remember this. Like, when did he say that? It's like, wow, that is really profound. Star, note, check, whatever. Take it out, put it in my journal.
Right.
That is a really cool thought. And so
There's so much in there. It takes multiple readings to even really scratch it.
Yeah. So I just kept reading it, and I love the book. Don't love the guy. He was not a good person. Talk about arrogant. You know, there's no question there.
So at the end, toward the end of his life, especially
his whole life, believe it or not. Yeah, I read a lot about. I've studied him like a scientist, and he was. There's some conjecture that he may have been bipolar before they really knew what that was.
Could have been.
He would go to extreme highs and extreme lows, and I mean, you know, not that being divorced is anything that is my business, but he was divorced.
Right.
He was married 4 times.
Yep.
At the end of the day, he didn't speak to his kids. To me, I find it very troubling. I would never want that. I find it very troubling.
He's a very odd guy.
Very odd guy. Yeah, but nevertheless, he interviewed 500 of the wealthiest people in America over a 20-some-year span.
And that was set up by Carnegie, right? Didn't he propose to Carnegie that he wanted?
No, Carnegie proposed to him.
He would put him on some kind of stipend.
No money.
There wasn't any money.
No, all it was it was just an introduction. Yeah, what happened was Napoleon Hill was contracted by a guy that I think his name was Taylor, and he had a magazine where they had profiles of successful people. So Andrew Carnegie was one of the ones he went to interview, and Andrew Carnegie was very impressed with young Napoleon Hill, and he told him that he would give him introductory letters to all the successful people in America at that time, and that he would have to earn his own way. He did not pay him any money at all. And so Napoleon Hill agreed to do that, and he went and interviewed, you know, Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and everybody. I mean, everybody who was anybody. The list is in the book, right? And it was basically the interview was a what did you do kind of an interview, and he came up with these principles, which are 13 principles that developed this commonality. And actually, the book Think and Grow Rich was actually not the book. The book that he wrote was called The Law of Success.
That was after.
No, that was before. And he condensed the book Think and Grow Rich from The Law of Success in 1937.
So I had The Law of Success. It's a bigger book.
It's very big. Yeah, and it was like 17 principles or something like that. It was more principles.
Right, and that came first, you're saying.
It came first,
Think and Grow Rich was more a more marketable excerpt of that?
Well, he was working in the Roosevelt administration at the time during the Great Depression, and trying to develop positive messaging. And he wrote this book, and among other books, and this was the only book that, in his opinion, was worth anything of value.
Right.
But it was really if you think about The Law of Success, it's about 1,000 pages.
Yeah, it's a big book.
It's a big book, and actually, it wasn't even a book; it was a course. And so,
correct. It's actually pieced together in sections.
It was books. There was books.
Yes.
If you would go and
you can buy it as one.
Absolutely, and it's very inexpensive. But if you were to go and get the original course, it's probably $50,000 or something. I mean, because it's a collector's item.
Right.
So, and I may be exaggerating there, but you could actually probably go buy that original course, which would have been 17 books.
Yeah.
And I actually have a version of it, which is 4 books, modern. You know, it's leather bound and everything, but it's 4 books, The Law of Success, and it's 4. And so they go through principles. You know, I've read that one also multiple times. But at any rate, he took 1,000 pages and made it 350, and that became Think and Grow Rich, which is the greatest volume-selling self-development book ever written. Nothing else is even close.
Let me ask this question. Again, going on memory, James Allen wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh.
Correct.
Maybe book. 50 years before that. Or maybe 100 years. I don't know what the
that I don't know. But it's a great book. It's a very short book.
Very short book, and it basically is about the essence of visualization. You have to think in essence of you must think and concentrate and be obsessed by your goal. That's part of it, but that's the essence of it. That message, would you not agree, has been ineffectively, I believe, but commercially successful, has been kind of I don't know, stolen to a degree. There's things called The Secret, and there's and I find a lot of that, and I've watched all that stuff. I watched the movie. It leaves action in the back. It's more about hope, pray, it's going to happen for you. Keep thinking about it. Be a positive person, but it leaves out you've got to do the work. That's how I interpret a lot of. I don't know. Rohn used to say, affirmations without action is the beginning of delusion. And I remember hearing that early on going, no matter what I believe to be true about myself or my goals, if I don't put the work in, it's not going to get done. I'm not going to get there.
Exactly.
That was pretty pragmatic for me. But I think that As a Man Thinketh book has been bastardized, I think, by a lot of movements. Do you find that or not?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't find I give no credence whatsoever to what is called the law of attraction. I give no credence to it whatsoever.
Amen.
I don't agree with it.
Amen.
I think it's a house of cards. I think it's the beginning of delusion, as you said. But what I do believe in very strongly is the law of action. Mm-hmm. And that said, an even stronger law is the law of compensation. And that is a very real thing.
Help me understand. Help me extrapolate that.
So the law of compensation states that if I take actions, I'm going to be compensated for those actions. Okay? I'm going to be compensated for those actions in some way. Healthy actions, I'll be compensated with healthy body, healthy financial, nice bank account.
It's got to be a carrot, is what you're trying to say.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's just all action-based. So if I take healthy actions, the law of compensation would compensate me with better health. If I take strategic monetary actions, I'm going to be compensated with a better bank account. An example of an idea of how to make more money, right? Everybody wants to make more money. How to make more money? Bring more value to the hour, okay? I find it horrible that there's so much complaining about what's going on out there today and all this complaining about I lost my business. Well, why aren't you delivering pizzas right now? Who are you? Why aren't you? I mean, there's people hiring people to deliver food. Mm-hmm. And I have a story to tell about that. A young lady who has a business that was shut down because of COVID-19. Mm-hmm. It wasn't shut down. It's just that all of her business went away because it's a bakery business and all the graduations and everything was canceled where they would have cookies and cakes and that kind of a thing. So she decided that she would do, I think it's called door drop or something like that. Anyways, delivering food. And she did a little extra thing involving a piece of candy with an inspirational note. Right. And so she was getting gratuities.
Sure.
And she was making more money doing this than she was in her little business.
She adapted.
She was
creatively adaptive.
She adapted. Exactly. And so Jim Rohn tells us that, why wouldn't you take a job at $7 an hour? You hear this all the time. They want to make the minimum wage $15 an hour. Who are you? See, here's what the message should be. This job pays $7 an hour, okay? And I'm going to take that job. I'm going to bring $15 worth of value to the hour. Mm-hmm. The garbage cans have never been so empty. The toilets have never been so clean. The floors have never been swept so well. I greet every customer with a hello, how are you? Can I get you something? I'm the janitor.
Right.
I'm making $7 an hour. Right. Pretty soon, somebody's going to say, do you see what that Jim Shorkey guy's doing?
Absolutely.
That guy, man, he's incredible.
Absolutely.
We better give him a raise or we're going to lose him. So either my employer is going to give me a raise or somebody like you is going to be sitting there and saying, we got this little business here. We could use a guy like that. Excuse me, can I have a conversation with you, Jim Shorkey? Oh, yeah, okay. What are they paying you here? $7 an hour. We'll pay you $12 an hour. Would you do the same thing in our business? Absolutely. So either I go to my boss because I like him. I say, listen, this fella here is going to pay me $12 an hour. I say, well, you're not worth that to us. See you later. So now I'm working for you $12 an hour. Guess what? I'm going to bring you $20 an hour. I will own your company in 1 year.
Yeah,
I will own it.
That is the essence of free market. You can. It's the.
I will own it.
Capitalism, and quite frankly, you don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. That's an old tenet.
We need to be teaching that today. We really do.
Yes.
Let's teach that because COVID-19, for the entrepreneurial spirit, okay, the person that had the internal locus of control and gear, they made a lot of money during COVID-19.
Correct.
You go check.
Correct.
You go check.
Correct.
They did. And so I worked with a lot of real estate professionals, like that, and I told them, there were some things they couldn't do, but my advice was, what can you do? Now, what can't you do? What can you do?
Yeah. There was
can you reach out to your clients? Let them know, I'm still here, I'm still here. Can you send emails? Can you do
handwritten notes? Just
educating webinars. You're not doing anything. Well, why not do a webinar with all your customers? Listen, we'll show you how to get your house ready for sale. And the people that did this extra stuff, when the thing was lifted, they were selling houses like crazy. They are. They're doing great.
It was an 8-week opportunity to connect on a different kind of level with your existing client base and your potential pool of clients. And a lot of agents did that, but I would say more sat on their hands.
Yeah. Jim Rohn said, I'm paraphrasing, things get better when you get better.
That's exactly
And so during COVID-19, what did you do to get better? What did you do to self-care? What did you do to improve your sleep? What did you do to improve your, did you take another course? I was working with a lady who was in an insurance business. I say, hey, take some classes.
Absolutely.
Get a few more letters next to your name. What can you do to improve your situation? It's called an internal locus of control. I would challenge everybody who listens to this to go study. It takes 5 minutes. Internal locus of control is everything is my fault. Everything is my fault. External locus of control is the blame game, the victim game. Jim Shorkey's not playing that game today. You want to play that game, Eric? That's up to you. I'm not playing that. Everything is my fault. I have a T-shirt that actually says that. And people, it creates more conversation. I'll have it on and I'll say, oh, man, that's a great T-shirt. Your wife must have got that for you. Nope. I said, I got it for myself. I got it from Tom Bailu, who was a really cool guy. Had that shirt on. I said, I'm going to get that shirt. And he was selling them. It was $20. Like, I love that shirt. And it gives me an opportunity when you say, what do you mean by that? Well, that's my philosophy.
Absolutely right.
Everything's my fault. Everything.
Let's talk about philosophy. Rohn's tenet for me, I learned, and it probably was the single biggest thing that I learned early on that changed me. He challenged you. Do you know what a personal philosophy is? Okay. If you say you do, what is your philosophy? I could not articulate that to the fictitious voice on the cassette tape because I didn't even have one. I probably roundabout might have. I never gave it any critical thought, Jim, and it wasn't until I started to do that and I got grounded. This is what I believe. It evolved over time. Naturally, we evolve as people. But until I was rooted in a personal philosophy that drove my passion every day to do things, to create, until I figured that personal philosophy thing out, I was a lost puppy.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with the importance of the personal philosophy?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you want to know mine?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So I have 5 pillars. Okay. And my number one pillar, and this is in order, number one pillar is passion. I want to have great passion. And anytime I analyze, again, I'm a critical thinker, so anytime I analyze what it is that I want to do, I look at the opposite of that. So the opposite of passion is apathy. I don't give a crap, okay? Right. I don't want to be there. I don't want to ever say those words. Hey, Jim, Jim Rohn talks about cholesterol. You don't know, you don't care. We'll take your children. That's how he talks. I love Jim Rohn.
I love Rohn.
Yeah. Your blood. You got to check your blood pressure, man. Like your blood pressure's jacked. Oh, I don't know. I don't care. So I care, man. So I got to take care of that first. I got to make sure my passion is in check.
Yeah.
I'm here today to be passionate. I told you when we talked. I said I have one condition for this interview. You can ask me any question you want. I don't want to know the questions beforehand.
Right.
I don't want to talk to my attorney.
That's what he said.
I don't want that.
That's what he said.
I want to talk to you real. You can ask me any question.
You're on the right show.
Yeah, you said to me earlier about editing this. I said, well, you edit it if you want. Don't edit for my benefit. I don't want it edited. I'll be very careful with my words.
Love that.
So I don't want to be edited, I want to be real. I want to be visceral. So anyways, I want to be passionate versus apathetic. Second is health. And so if I don't have my health, I don't have anything. Unfortunately, the guys that we mentioned today, they're all dead.
I know.
And it's sad.
I know.
And I wonder if maybe they would have taken a different approach to their health, what might have happened, And so if you look at health from the perspective of looking into your crystal ball, into the future,
right,
and taking better care of your health to the degree that you get an extra 5 years where you would have been dead at 70, you're dead at 75, or you would have been dead at 80, you're dead at whatever that would be.
Right.
But if you could get an extra 5 years, how many churches could you build in 5 years? How many books could you write? How many young people could you mentor? How many hugs could you give to your family, your friends? How many how many of these could you do in 5 years? How many of these do you do a week?
I'm at 15 months on your show 110 already.
Okay, so
probably I'm doing like 2.5 a week.
Okay, so let's just say 3 a week.
3 a week.
So 3 a week is 150 a year. In 5 years, that's 750.
Right.
So with that extra 5 years, you would do 750 of these interviews, and how many people would that reach based on the butterfly effect?
Incredible.
Believe me, Eric, if you don't have your health, you got nothing. The opposite of health, of course, is illness. So I despise illness. I don't want illness. I run from illness. I run towards health. Number 2 pillar is health. Number 3 pillar is love. And love is the pinnacle of my whole thing. So passion, health, love is the pinnacle, right? And so love consists of my wife, who I've been married to 41 years this coming July. Love my wife dearly. She's my best friend. We have such a great time together. So number 1 is my wife. Number 2 is my children and their significant others, who really are my children as well. Everybody that's my family would be, you know, my grandchildren. I have 6 grandchildren and 2 on the way.
Right.
Theo James and William Dennis.
God bless you.
2 boys. Yeah. And so that's my family, along with my mom and my siblings and my mother-in-law and Judy and Boyd and Hal and Ellen and all my my brothers and sisters, the whole what we call family. So that's number 2. So it's my wife first, my family second, my friends. You are now my friend.
Absolutely.
Friends are very, very important to me.
Certainly.
Next is my self-love. I need to make sure that I'm in tune with that. And next, within that love pillar, is nature. And I've studied it and studied it and studied it. We belong in nature. We have to get into nature. You want to talk about a cure for COVID-19? It's nature. We belong in nature. Anytime, I'll take you out for a walk in the woods right now, and you say, man, I feel so good. And first of all, it's the movement, but also being amongst, hearing the birds. And did you hear that? Look at that there. Look at that squirrel over there. You know, we belong in nature. So I really do believe that that's an important part of my love. I love nature, and I believe I belong in nature. So love is my 3rd pillar. 4th pillar is abundance. For me, abundance over the years has meant money. I am a big believer in money. Money is a tool. I understand that. And so I believe in money. I think money is important for my abundance, but you know, you have to decide how you measure abundance. Obviously, the word abundance does not necessarily mean money, but we talked about Zig Ziglar, and I'll paraphrase. Zig Ziglar said, you know, money doesn't buy happiness. He said that. He said, but I've tried being happy with money, and I've tried being happy without money, and it's a whole lot easier being happy with money. And so that's my Zig Ziglar quote. Always remember,
money's freedom.
It is.
It's freedom to do more of the things you want to do with your life.
Yeah. You like driving a nice car? I do. Do you like going nice places? I do. Do you like going to when you go to a restaurant? You know, Jim Rohn said, you know,
do it with style.
Yeah. Remember what Jim Rohn said? Who is this clown? It's the soil talking. Who is this clown who brings me his needs but brings me no seeds?
Exactly right.
Like, what the heck?
Exactly
Nature
right.
doesn't care about your needs. Nature cares about your seeds. So when you go up to the cash register and they say, well, listen, here's your bill. It's $200. You say, well, hey, I'm Jim Shorkey. You had the pleasure of dining with Jim Shorkey. And I say, hey, get your credit card out, buddy. We don't care. We want our money. So you got to have the money. And that's the abundance factor. And then lastly is joy. Is my 5th pillar, and that's my funeral test. And so when they put me in a hole, when they put me in a hole, the measure of my life will be who shows up at my funeral to look at me in the hole, and what do they say? And so somebody could stand there and say, that guy there in that hole changed my life.
Right.
He had impact.
Right.
And everything we have, honey, this car, this boat, these people, these children, everything we have was because of that guy set me straight 30 years ago when I listened to something he said, and I took it to heart, and I went to work on it, and wow, did things change. He changed my life. That's a life of impact. Versus the guy that shows up at the same funeral and says, you know what, I just want to make sure this guy's dead. Because he was a total piece of crap, and I'm glad he's gone. He was just a loser. What a jerk. That's a life very poorly lived. So I measure, and by the way, the opposite of abundance would be poverty. The opposite of love for me is loneliness.
Yeah, loneliness.
So as we look forward in life, and we have our crystal ball. And so remember, I always want to focus on what I love and what I don't love, what I want and what I don't want. And so when I look at that crystal ball, when I'm thinking about my love, what's loneliness look like? And it's like, well, that scares the living crap out of me. And I hate being lonely. So I better give my wife a few hugs, have a few Scrabble games, play do the coffee celebration, and make sure that she knows where I'm at and I know where she's at, so that we don't get to this point 5 years from now where she says, you know what? I'm tired of your crap, Jim. I'm out of here. Oh, man, I messed up. Too late. So the opposite of abundance, of course, is poverty. Too much month at the end of the money. Another Jim Rohnism.
Sure is.
And then the opposite of joy is sadness.
Yeah.
So imagine you come into your life and you say, man, I messed up. That's the bad life, I don't want that. So I try to think about, well, what does joy look like? And joy is this conversation right now.
Absolutely.
And the butterfly effect of that. And hopefully someday somebody says, I heard you speaking to Eric McKenna. And that day, I remember I was driving down the road, man. That day changed my life. That's a big deal to me.
I think, too, we've talked about so much about Rohn on here, but he used to jokingly, but not jokingly, say in a lot of his presentations that we have it all wrong. We get these accomplished people to stand up in front of others and give their story and their testimonial. We really need to find the people that messed it all up, that are willing to stand up there. And so I think having somebody who has made massive changes in their life with family, with business, such as yourself, and being on the precipice of losing it all, and understanding that that's more powerful than maybe someone who never felt any kind of pain, and by the grace of the good Lord may have been born into money and done well with it, but never experienced the harder aspects of life. There's more validity coming from someone who messed it all up, and there's redemption there.
Yeah.
Would you not agree? That's way more powerful to me.
There's no question. I actually did a little piece the other day, which was fascinating, on Mickey Mantle. And Mickey Mantle said, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. And it's kind of like a ha-ha type of thing. Well, he was
sad, though.
Sad. He was dead at 63. 63 years old. He was
alcoholic.
Four boys and his wife. So 6 people, 5 confirmed alcoholics, to the degree of having professional treatment, checking into professional treatment centers. I don't disparage that at all. I'm not making fun of that, but this is the facts, right? 5 out of 6, not good. And his liver was so damaged by the 40 years of drinking that his doctor told him his liver looked like a doorstop. Imagine that. The body just said, I had enough.
Right.
So,
right.
And at the end of his life, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but I just did a piece on this, and it's sad. It's a very, very sad story. It's not funny. He said, role model, ... don't do what I did. And so to your point, I learned a lot from successful people. I did. I learned a lot. But I learned far more from unsuccessful people because I could see it. And like, for example, the arrogance thing, I could see that. I was like, man, I don't want to be like that. I could see people that were sleep deprived, and I started to understand it. I see it now. It's like, I know the flaw in that, So I learn a lot from people who do great things.
Right.
But I think I learn more from people who do terrible things, because once you figure out I'm sorry, not terrible things, but they have terrible results. Once you analyze and you say, well, okay, what did you do to get so screwed up? Mickey Mantle, for example.
Right.
And again, back to that original example, 63 years old. What could this guy have done with an extra 20 years?
With sobriety and better health.
Oh, my God. Mickey Mantle, one of the greatest baseball players ever.
100%.
You know what, man? Dead is dead. He's dead. And he didn't have to be dead. He really didn't.
No.
And imagine a guy of that talent. What could he have done for the youth? What could he have done to write a book about something positive that he could have given to you? And you said, I'm going to read that. And it's like, holy crap, that changed my life. So it's a very sad story. And he just didn't think it through the whole way through, which is one of our fundamental principles in our program, Rethink You, is thinking it through. We call it standing naked in front of the mirror. You got to stand naked in front of the mirror and have a look and say, do I like what I see or not? And then look at your trajectory. Where am I heading? And then have your crystal ball and say, well, what's this going to look like when I'm 85 years old? And you know what? Probably not going to look so hot.
Right.
And then you better get to work on fixing it right now, today. I have a quote hanging on my wall by Buddha. You know, the trouble is people think they have time. I'm here to tell you, Eric, you don't have time.
Right.
You don't have time.
I'm aware.
If you're lucky,
I'm aware.
If you're lucky, you're going to be here for 80 years. How old are you?
54.
Okay, so you got 26 years left. Now, if you do things the right way, you might be able to stretch that to 36 years.
Right.
What would you do with those extra 10 years? Or if you're like me, you're going to go for 122. You still don't, you know, it's just a blank. It's just a blank.
But what did Rowan say? He goes, if you estimate you have 20 years left of your life, you know, and you go fishing with your buddies once a year on this amazing trip, you only got 20 of those left.
That's right. So maybe double up on that.
Put it in that perspective, where like the things you really love to do, and you do them annually or you do them semi-annually, you only have a finite amount, and that's a number that you really can key on.
And it's a philosophy.
It is a philosophy.
That is a philosophy.
That is
so you know what? I'm gonna to-do list. Go fishing 4 times a year with my buddies.
Right.
To not do list. I'm not gonna watch TV. I don't watch TV.
I don't watch TV.
Don't have time. Yeah. So that time is like Scrabble with my wife, coffee celebration with my wife, going for a walk in the woods. I got a little dog, Bear. He's not even a year old. You can check him out on Facebook. He's in my profile. He is literally the coolest dog ever. This is I'm telling you. I know people, they play
I don't know.
favorites.
My two are pretty cool.
I'm telling you, if you saw my dog, you'd say, this is the coolest dog ever. He's the coolest dog ever. And so I go out, and he loves to chase after balls.
Okay.
That didn't sound quite right. May want after the
balls that you throw.
Balls that I throw, yeah.
Right.
And he and to see the joy, and I'm outside.
Yeah.
I'm moving.
Right.
I'm seeing the joy in this dog just chasing after these. We have 2 of them, and I'll throw one. He'll go get it. And I got this one, Baron.
Right.
And to see the joy in that, and to see the joy in me, that's how I'm going to get to 122 is by doing stuff like that more often versus watching the news. I don't watch the news. I just don't.
No, it's all bad. Would you not also agree too? It's and this is such a missed opportunity, I think, for the bulk of our population, is that we need to guard the gateway of our mind.
We do.
Garbage in, kind of garbage out.
No, there's no question.
You know,
kind of. It's a fact.
And I classify the news and crime shows that unnecessarily cause us to ingest bad stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that theater of pain, that watching other people in pain, watching stories of blatant, raw, unnecessarily graphic stuff is not healthy.
Not doing it.
It's just not healthy. It's not healthy.
It's not a question of being not healthy, and I know what you mean, but I'm just going to get stronger with that. It's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Watching that stuff is unhealthy. You're sedentary.
Right.
You're disconnected. You think you're connected. You're not. It's unhealthy. It is very unhealthy. And then you're plugging this stuff into your brain directly. No, I'd rather go outside and kick the ball around with Bear.
Absolutely.
And play Scrabble with my wife, which is very raw, and do our coffee celebration. And we say, you know, this thing here, let's put that away.
It's a tool.
Put it off to the
shouldn't
side.
Be your life.
Over here, we're having. I'm not looking at my phone right now.
Right.
It's not activated. I can't even get to it.
This is reality. This is.
I want to talk to you.
This is real.
For me to sit here right now and pick up my
Yeah, I've had two guests that actually did that, and I'm a very easygoing kind of person, but it was disrespectful.
It's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful.
It is.
No question.
Not happening here. Not happening with this guy. I'm just not going to do it. It's disrespectful, and probably more than anything, it's disrespectful to you, but probably more than anything, it's disrespectful to me.
There's no question.
This is my time.
There is no question.
This is my time.
Absolutely.
And I'll get to you later. This is my time. So it's just, and not that they're being disrespectful, I'm being disrespectful to myself. I feel like when I eat Fruit Loops, I'm being disrespectful.
You must like Fruit Loops.
No, I have a box. I have a box of them. I bought them just so I could use it as a prop, man. I would never ever put them in my body. Not happening.
At one point, you must have liked them.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And I got a scar from here to here to prove it, you know.
Got it.
So no, Fruit Loops don't belong in this machine.
Yeah, sugar's the enemy.
Well, the bottom line is whatever you put in your mouth is fuel.
Right.
And if I pull up to the gas station, we're in your car, and I say, hey, let me get it, man. Yeah, great. Okay, yeah. For doing this interview, I'm going to put gas in your car for you. Okay, cool. And I get out a bucket of water and start dumping in your fuel tank. You're going to say, what in the hell are you doing? Putting water in your gas tank. No, you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah, we put Fruit Loops in our body.
Oh, yeah.
Food is fuel. We're getting played by the food industry. Do your own
no
research.
Question.
We're getting played.
No question.
Food was never meant for enjoyment.
No question.
We've turned the tables.
Sure we have.
Food is fuel. It's for survival.
Right.
And if we would just understand it, then we would pick up that bottle of Coke, which is high fructose corn
Garbage.
syrup. Sorry.
That's poison.
Is this going to be good for my brain?
It's poison.
Because I'm afraid of Alzheimer's. Is this going to be good for my brain? No, Jim, it's not. Then put it back.
Right.
And grab a bottle of water.
Right.
That's
exactly
it.
Right.
That's the formula.
Well, I mean, you'll laugh when I say this. If you don't take care of your body, you have nowhere else to live.
Well,
you don't have anywhere else to live.
Yeah,
you only got one body, right? I mean, you can own multiple cars, multiple homes. You can do all kinds of things in volume in life. But you only got one place to live.
Let's ask the audience a question right now.
Right?
So if I said to you, listen, here's your car, and I give you this car, I'm a generous guy. This is the only car you're ever going to get your whole life. So how old are you again?
54.
54. So you're going to live to be 84, which would be a good job. 30 years. This is the only car you get. You cannot get another car. Once I give it to you, this is the only car. You can't buy one. You can't.
I can't choose the brand.
Well, even if you did, let's say you did. So you choose wisely. But now you have this car, and it's the only. It's the only car you're ever going to have. How are you going to treat it?
Damn good.
Damn good. This is the only body you get. This is the only brain you get. They have never done a successful brain transplant. It's impossible. It's too complicated. So why wouldn't you take actions, the law of action, that are going to benefit your brain, and then get on your to not do list, because this is hurting my brain over here.
Right.
So I studied Dr. Daniel, and I never know if I have his name pronounced properly. It's actually spelled A-M-E-N. So I don't know if it's Amen or I think it's Amen, Dr. Amen, who's brilliant. He's a neurologist, just a brilliant man. And I've read several of his books about the brain and about Alzheimer's and things like that. And I'm a student of that idea because it scares the living daylights out of me. So
it scares me too.
It's important. So not thinking about it isn't the answer. So I can watch TV tonight, or I can read something by Dr. Amen and say, okay, the TV, there's no actionable stuff there. But with Dr. Amen, it says, he'll say, for example, cut back on sugar, or drink this certain tea, or take this certain supplement. Vitamin D would be one, things like that, So I'm in this protocol of today at 63. These are the things I'm doing. These are the things I'm going to stop doing so that I can have a better brain when I'm 85. And that's a philosophy.
No question.
That's a philosophy.
No question.
So now you have it.
Yeah.
What am I going to look like when I stand naked in front of the mirror at 85? What am I going to look like? And unfortunately, in the United States of America, it's not a good picture.
Well, we're so obese here.
It's not a good picture.
It's just, we've been. You raise an extremely good point about the food industry. Now, I will tell you, I believe that gluttony and I believe that enjoying food goes back thousands of years. I believe that, but in terms of co-opting how food is processed and delivered to us in the last 50 years has changed everything. Wouldn't you agree? In terms of just processed and non-natural ingredients, chemicals.
Well, let's be clear here. I'm a car salesman. I'm not a doctor. Okay, so everybody has to do their own thing.
Certainly.
And so, but I can tell you that you're getting played.
No question.
You're getting played.
I agree.
And
I believe it.
The food is being scientifically engineered with brain scans to be designed to be addictive.
No
exactly.
Question. Yeah.
And
carbohydrate.
They can see
manipulation
in the scanning, and so they'll have this certain concoction. They got 10 people in the room on a scanner. They give them the concoction, and things light up. It's like, well, we got something. We're on to something here.
It's like crack.
Yeah, exactly. And then they make some adjustments to the formula, and the brain lights up even more. Like, oh boy, it's even better. And so they come up with these formulas, and they're very, very smart people. These are people in lab coats. These are scientists, right? And then they release it to the public, and the public becomes addicted to it to the point of buying more and more and more, eating more and more and more. We're getting played.
High fructose corn syrup is one of the vehicles they have used to manipulate. I believe by even replacing pure cane sugar, which is not good for you.
No.
But by having almost a sweetener derived from corn, it's plentiful, it's cheap, and I think they used it in the early 70s under the Nixon administration to maybe feed more people in the world at one time, right? Corn was used initially to try to feed more people.
Well, it'd be nice if it was corn, but it really isn't even corn anymore. It's genetically modified, and where they're people want to face this reality or not, because of the onslaught of high fructose corn syrup, we are ruining the environment. We're ruining the environment because that corn that we're making that is fed to the cows and extract the high fructose corn syrup and all kinds of stuff extracted, that corn is ruining the environment. It's so bad, so bad. That whole food thing is so bad that there is from the runoff, and you can do your own research. Maybe Jim Shorkey's a dumb car salesman, but from the runoff, there is an area in the Gulf of Mexico the size of Rhode Island. This is a state in the United States of America, the size of Rhode Island, that is dead. Dead. There's nothing there. It's dead. The Mississippi River, the shores of the Mississippi River are being destroyed by the runoff from the cows, the fertilizer that, or the crap that the cows crap is so toxic that it can't be used for it's toxic. So they can't use it to fertilize the crop, so they got to bring in a synthetic fertilizer for the GMO crop. It's just a mess.
It's like it's a chain. It's a cycle. It's a cycle.
We're ruining everything.
Are you familiar? Throw something at you here, abstract. Are you familiar at all with a website called Mark's Daily Apple?
I am. Yeah. Who's Mark's Daily Apple?
Mark Sisson.
Yeah.
Mark Sisson was a long distance runner, and he kind of he's not pure paleo, but he has something called the Primal Blueprint.
Yeah, very
great book.
Read the book,
and it really, if you've read it, so you understand. It really comes down to eliminating processed and man-made, chemically altered food.
Correct.
And
eating real food.
Yeah, absolutely right. And obviously, there's carb reduction in there naturally, but really eliminating cane sugar or any kind of artificial sugar from your diet.
Well, everything has carbohydrates in it, so carbs are not your problem. It's the refined carbs. That's the problem. Refined carbs and the sugar would be a particular problem. But when you eat broccoli, that's a carbohydrate food. When you eat fruit,
we need carbs.
Yeah, when you eat fruit, when you eat oats, fruit and vegetables and seeds and nuts, there's carbohydrates. Just look it up and all that stuff. It's not the carbs that are the problem. It's the sugar. All the sugars are a problem. And then the refined sugars, the high fructose corn syrup, this kind of crap is just pure crap, garbage. The bad oils, canola oil.
Oh yeah. All your dirty omega-6s.
Yeah, they're just bad.
There's just a lot of them.
That stuff doesn't go in Jim Shorkey's body. Again, a car salesman, not a medical person. You eat what you want to eat.
Absolutely.
But there's something wrong. Something going on in the United States of America. When you look at the numbers, we're not doing so hot. Type 2 diabetes.
Off the charts.
1.2 million people will die in the United States of America this year due to type 2 diabetes or complications thereof.
Which is preventable diabetes.
Yes,
you don't have to be on insulin for type 2 if you modify your lifestyle and diet.
You got to lose weight. Yeah. So again, car salesman, not a doctor. I'm not getting type 2 diabetes because I'm very careful about what I put into my body.
Right.
You mentioned, money is a tool. Well, guess what? So is food. Food is a tool. My body uses food to run itself, and so I do a very strict time restricted eating.
You believe in intermittent fasting? It's part of it?
Well, it would be a version of it. More, it's time restricted. So today it's now 2 o'clock. I've had no food in my body yet today. I shut down my eating last night at about 6:30. My goal was 6 o'clock. I was late yesterday, so let's just say 6:30. So I shut down my eating at 6:30. No food after that, right? So go to sleep 5.5 hours till midnight. I'm into a fast, right? And then right now it's 2 o'clock, so there's 12 hours is 17 and a half. I'm at 19 and a half hours of a fast, and you can arguably call that intermittent fasting, but I don't look at it that way as so much as I look at it as time restricted eating. So I'm not gonna, and I have no food with me, none. So I'm gonna drive home. And how's my cognition?
Spot on.
Yeah. So just think about that for a second, because I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. But so I'm going to drive home, and my cognition is just perfect, and there's reasons for that. And And I'm going to probably break fast today. Probably do one meal today. I'm going to break fast at probably around 4 o'clock. And then I'm going to really try to stick to that shutting down at 6 o'clock, because the more I stick to 6 o'clock, the better my sleep is. See, if you eat too close to sleeping, it disrupts your sleep. And that's another can of worms. So you mess up your sleep. Now you have anxiety. So you're stressed out, which messes up your sleep, which messes up your anxiety. And it's a vicious circle. So back to the food. So yeah, no food yet today. My food intake would be this water here, and I've had 2 cups of coffee, 1 caffeinated, 1 decaf. And since you're such an ungracious host, we didn't have coffee today.
We didn't have coffee.
We didn't have coffee.
My
and coffee is like, it's like nirvana, right? So no,
the right kind of coffee.
No, I kid. So anyways, so it's not so much a question of what you're eating; it's a question of what you're not eating, right? So I do. That's what I do. And
so you have a window do you have a small window per day that you do eat? Is that pretty much it?
2 to 4, or I'm sorry, 2 to 6. So
2 to 6.
And I eat a lot of food when I do that.
Right.
And again, please. I'm a car salesman, not a doctor. Don't do what I do.
Yes.
I'm just telling you what I do.
Yes.
You got to get your own ideas about it, but that's what I do. And so I just want you to think about something. If you understand, if you've thought it through the whole way through, there's this thing called evolution, okay? And some people don't believe in that. I 100% believe in evolution. 100%. There's no question in my mind about that. And if you don't agree with that, then fine. Then that's okay. We can have different opinions and agree to disagree.
Certainly.
So, but at any rate, we come from a hunter-gatherer society.
Correct. I believe. Is
whether you believe in evolution or not, that is a pretty darn well documented idea that at one time we were hunters and gatherers. And so if you think about it, here's the deal. There was no food. There was no food. We had to go out and hunt that food and gather that food. There was no food. And there was no way to preserve food. You got it and you ate it. And a lot of times there wasn't any food. So imagine this. People think they need to have food in order to move. That's what they think. And so back in the hunter-gatherer days, if they had to have food to move, then they would have perished. And that would have become a selective disadvantage if you believe in evolution. So it's all based on selection, an advantage versus disadvantage, you know? So let's assume that we had to be able to move without food. Think about it. If we couldn't, then we died, because we would have died. We would have starved to death.
Correct.
So they had to be able to move without food. So we have built into us this ability to move without food, and it's called fat, right? And so we have a storage of fat. No matter how thin we are, we have days of fat on our body that we can use. No matter how thin we are, very few exceptions to that we can go for days without eating. I'm not going for days without eating. I'm going for roughly 20 hours without eating. So back in the hunter-gatherer days, if they didn't have food, they wouldn't have been, or they would, if they had to have food to move, they wouldn't be able to move. So they had to be able to move. And your body has all these systems designed to enable you to run fast and jump high and run from and all these things.
Right.
And it's called burning fat, which is what Mark Sisson's going to tell you. And so what they would do is they would find food, and then they would gorge on that food. They would gorge, and the body would take the calories that they needed and turn that into function.
Right.
And what the excess calories, they would turn it into, the body would turn it into fat.
Right.
So fat has a purpose. Being fat has a purpose. Now they never got real fat, but they would put on weight once they found food. And then they would not find food for a while. They would have this, quote, famine, and then the body would switch to burning fat as its fuel source. The problem that you have today is we have this idea, in my mind at least, called evolutionary mismatch. And so we are not designed to be living in a society of plenty that we have. We're just not designed. We're not designed to be living indoors. We're not designed to have all this light 24/7. We're not designed to be eating 3 meals a day. It never was like that, okay? We're not designed for any of this. So we have evolutionary mismatch. Hence, because the body, if you get fat, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
But when you're not sugar induced fat.
Well, regardless, it's a good thing because that's how your body works. The problem is we're eating too much, and that extra food turns into fat. And this is just what I believe. So I restrict time-restricted eating Number one, I restrict what I eat, and I restrict how much I eat in terms of the window. During the window, I eat as much as I want. Eat till I'm maybe beyond full. But I only eat very, very high quality food. You know,
no Fruit Loops.
No Fruit Loops. I have them just as my prop, but no Fruit Loops, man. No Fruit Loops. I'm out on the Fruit Loops. They don't belong in your body, man. You know, you look at Fruit Loops, and in the back of the Fruit Loops book, there's a game for your children. I mean, it SUCKS's. It just does. In those Fruit Loops is red dye 40, a known carcinogen. And they're marketing it as Fruit Loops, FROOT. Did you know that? So they a little tricky there.
Yeah.
For like, oh, we're eating fruit. And they have all these vitamins that you're getting in these Fruit Loops. And yet
they're all they have the word enriched in there. Jim knows that not coming naturally. They have to plug that stuff in.
Because it's crap. And there's red dye 40 in the food that you're, and by the way, the serving size is probably about the size of your hands cupped together. We're not doing that. we're taking it out about here and eating our Fruit Loops. Yeah. No, Fruit Loops don't belong in your body. I'm sorry, gang.
Sugar, to me, and you may disagree, and that's fine, but I honestly believe that sugar, refined sugar, is the enemy.
I agree 100%.
And I understand that fuel can be derived from that, and if you're an endurance athlete or something, you may have a larger requirement for a higher carbohydrate, or you can handle refined sugars better than the average sedentary American. And it just, when you eliminate that sugar, all kind of benefits happen to your body and especially your mind.
Yeah, so let's back up a second. Now, maybe I didn't make this clear enough. Okay, sugar is absolutely, positively, without a doubt, no question, the enemy. Sugar does not belong in your body, period.
Right.
Did the hunters and gatherers eat sugar? They would once in a while find honey, and they ate it because it tasted good, right? We're designed to eat sugar, but it wasn't available. They would find wild berries. They would eat them. It wasn't available. So when they did eat them, they ate them like goofy. Like they'd find this honey, man. It was like it tasted that good. They were ravenously hungry.
Right.
And so excess calories, again, turns into fat. But the sugar that we're eating is crap. It's total crap. And even at that, not every day, not every week, I avoid sugar in the best way that I can. Do I eat sugar? I do. Why? Because I'm an idiot. Okay, and I make mistakes. That doesn't make it right. Sugar is the enemy. Sugar does not belong in your body. Mostly, I don't eat sugar of any kind.
Right.
You know, I try to get my sugar from the fruit. Like I'm a big blueberry person. Bananas, like fruit. And fruit should be in moderation. I eat a lot of vegetables. I am a meat eater, but I only eat grass-fed, finished. You know,
absolutely
none of the crap meat.
Yep.
I eat a lot of fish, seeds and nuts, and
I think, let me ask you a question too, another philosophical question, because this is back to Sisson. For a couple of years there, I followed his eating plan, the Primal Blueprint. Lost a lot of weight. Never felt better. But I eliminated all grains from my diet.
Yeah.
So nothing that was agricultural in basis that I consume. And I got a lot of, people tend to, we food shame in this country, right?
Yeah.
We do, or we want to criticize what we don't understand. And you hear it from family and friends, how can you eliminate breads and pastas and all that? But so when I did that though, Jim, I felt amazing. Yeah. Weight just fell off me. And my appetite was so suppressed. Once I eliminated that stuff. Now, I've slowly put wheat back in there, and I don't appear to be gluten intolerant at all. But what about the concept of going grain-free? Have you ever tried that?
I have, yeah. I think it's a great concept. I think, and again, it's a question of what kind of bread are you eating?
It's kind of hard to do it too, because
it's you know what's hard? You know what's hard?
The shopping gets challenging, I think.
You know what's hard? Dying.
I cannot argue with you. I cannot argue with you there.
Let's talk about your dad.
Yeah,
how hard was that?
Absolutely.
That's what's hard.
Extremely hard.
That's hard.
Yeah,
that's what's hard.
Yeah, a man who had a tremendously poor diet his entire life, and I'm sure did not contribute to his health at all.
Being sick is hard, man. And we just the problem that I see is we just don't think it the whole way through. Like, dying's hard. Being sick is hard. Being ill. So once you figure out what you want, figure out what you don't want, why, then it becomes easier to make those decisions. So I have gone grain-free because I really believe that that's something, especially the crap that we eat. So to answer your question, I've also reintroduced bread, but I do sourdough bread that's very specially made for me. I'm also not gluten intolerant, but I still think that it is problematic. And what I understand about it, though, is that it's not like you can eat anything when you're in a time-restricted eating, but the time restriction is really the key.
Got it.
That's the key.
Got it.
And going without food. And so when you go without food, your body, you have to understand, everybody has to understand, your body is not your body. You think it's your body, it's not. It's not. No more than your car is your car. Your body is a machine. It's just a machine. And it reacts to information. And so food is information, and lack thereof is information as well. And so when your body doesn't have food, it goes through all kinds of reactions within that body that says, we got to get some food.
Right.
So things happen in that body. It's very complicated, but your mental acuity gets better without food.
Oh, no question.
It does.
I agree 100%.
We got to get real alert here, right? And so things happen. Your body starts to produce energy, energy from the fat, and it starts to convert that. And so you have the energy. It's not a problem. And there's this thing called human growth factor, okay, which actually goes up when you're in a fasted state. Right. And again, I'm not going to fast for. Right. I'm going to go home and eat. Okay, it's a very limited fast.
Right.
But the human growth, one of the best things that I do, again, car salesman, not a doctor, is I exercise fasted. And that's really incredible. And
I'm gonna try that.
I can't do that. Well, yeah, you can.
No, we're just conditioned to believe.
You can't try it. People tell me that. One of the things people have told me that they get all kinds of shaky when they don't eat, and it was explained to me by probably Mark Sisson, maybe, is that it's your body's going through withdrawal.
No question.
So
you have to get past that.
You got to get past that, and then you go a couple days, So what I would say, if I was going to do time restricted eating today, and let's say I'm normally doing 8 o'clock in the morning, let's say, and I eat at 8, and I stop eating at 8 at night, I would just take and shorten the window. So I would go 9 and 7 and see how I feel. And I feel like crap, but I'm getting better. Remember, push-ups?
Give it a little time.
Yeah, getting better. So, I can do that. Then I would go 10 and 6. And it's like, I feel like crap. I'm getting better. And so I just kept working at it. And I'm telling you, right now, I'm rocking and rolling. I feel great.
Right.
I don't have any issues. I do this every day. Typically, I break fast at 2 o'clock. Today's going to, I could have brought a smoothie with me that my lovely wife made for me. I could have brought it and ate it on the way home. But that's another interesting thought. You should never eat food when you're doing something else. You should sit down with that food in front of you, and you should get yourself relaxed, do some deep breathing, get very grateful for the food, and get into what is called rest and digest mode versus the parasympathetic versus sympathetic mode. So you're in parasympathetic mode. Do you realize that when you're in sympathetic mode, which is the tiger chasing you, so it's called fight or flight, sympathetic mode, your digestion shuts down.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Look it up.
So is it good not to exercise after you eat? Because you always hear eat and then go ahead and exercise. I
don't think it's necessary. I don't know about that, but what I would say is that if you're in sympathetic mode, meaning stressed out, and you eat, you're not going to digest that food.
Interesting.
It's going to, because it shuts down. So you've got to get yourself relaxed. And maybe you would digest the food, but not as efficiently. You're not going to extract the nutrients as efficiently. So parasympathetic is rest and digest.
Okay.
Sympathetic is fight or flight. Okay, and again, car salesman, not a doctor. But I understand this, I think. And so I used to watch, I'm a big YouTube video guy. So I used to eat, because I'm a multitasker, so I would eat and watch YouTube videos. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. No, you should be putting on some Mozart.
Yeah.
And just relaxing. And
so change your state.
Change your state.
Change your state while you consume food.
Yeah, from sympathetic to parasympathetic. That's why I said, I could have brought a smoothie, but now I know I'm going to be driving home, eating my smoothie. That's not the way to eat. You're better off to not eat, Get yourself to that relaxed state. So I can visualize right now. I've got 2 Adirondack chairs in my backyard. I can take my smoothie, go out, sit in the chair. Maybe Bear's going to be out there, run around the ball, and I can sit there and relax, put a big smile on my face, hear the birds, see the sun, blue sky, and I got my smoothie, and I'm relaxed.
Got it.
And I digest very efficiently when I'm relaxed. And if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Do your homework. We'll do another interview. You say, I did my homework, Jim. You got that one wrong. I'm a student, brother. You can't.
Yeah, you definitely are.
I'm a student. So
there's no question about that.
If it makes sense, then, you know, like, I can't fast. I can't fast. You do. You're full of crap. You fast every night.
Yeah. I just think those. Again, we're just conditioned to believe.
Did you hear what I just said?
Well, yeah. When you're sleeping. When you're sleeping.
And when does your body do the most work?
Probably when you're sleeping.
Restorative,
right?
Fixing things. There's this. Your brain actually has what is called a glymphatic system, and so what happens is when you sleep, your brain actually shrinks while you're sleeping, and it enables the glymphatic system to go to work on somehow. Maybe I got that wrong, but anyways, your glymphatic system can go to work because there's more room to work and clear out the crap.
Right.
Called, you know, Alzheimer's disease and stuff. So, so if you're not sleeping properly, then your glymphatic system is not engaged properly, and you're gonna face the consequences of that. So that's why when you don't want to eat before you go to sleep, it's going to disrupt your sleep. You don't want to work out before you sleep. That's going to disrupt your sleep. You don't want to be all stressed out. The blue light, all that. There's all kinds of things about that. If you want to learn about sleep, there's a guy's name's Dr. Matt Walker, who is brilliant. And don't even read his book. It's called Why Sleep Matters. He said if sleep wasn't important, it's the biggest evolutionary mistake ever made. Because we, in the hunter-gatherer days, they actually did sleep, and they were subject to predation. Right. And so why would they have that in there? Got it. Because if it was a disadvantage, they would have got picked off. Let's face it. So they had to figure out a way to do that, to be able to sleep, and they slept, and it created an advantage, actually, a selective advantage, and so it carried on. So if you think you can get away with 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, no, you can't.
You get 8?
My goal is between 7 and 8. Typically, my ideal number is like 7.5. I measure my sleep every night. I have an Oura ring, O-U-R-A. So I measure my sleep. I measure my so I do an EKG. Every morning, every night, this is all available for inexpensively. So I do an EKG. I actually measure my heart every morning, every night. I measure my ketones every morning, every night. I measure my HRV, which is heart rate variability, through a system called Elite HRV. And it tells me, when I get up in the morning, I do a 2-minute check-in, and it tells me if I'm ready to tackle the day. And so today, I was a 10. And so I get up in the morning, I'm a 10, I'm fasted, and I did a workout involving, I have a what is called a Bulgarian bag, which I swing back and forth, incredibly difficult. I did 20-pound dumbbells to exhaustion, and I have a Peloton, so I rode that for 15 minutes. So do I. High revolution. Love it. I was on a 50% resistance, and average 71, what's that called? Cadence, I think. What's it?
Yeah, cadence.
Cadence. So I was a 71, 50% resistance, did it for 15 minutes. So the whole workout was about, I'm going to say about 40 minutes. And then I took a cold shower. Not a hot shower, not a hot get in, make cold, turn. Cold. I get in cold. Butt naked, turn it on cold. Every morning when I do that, what's the brain say? Not this morning, Jim. Yeah. Not this morning, Jim. Yeah, we're doing it. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. No, you're not. What are you doing? I'm turning on the cold. What are you? Yeah. It's called mind over matter. So I take a cold shower every morning, except for when I don't. Sometimes I get off my plan, and I get a no at night when I do my discipline journaling. But yeah, I take a cold shower, which once you learn how to do that, it's lovely, lovely, lovely. And there's, again, your body's not your body. It reacts to stimuli, and so when you take that cold shower, things go on in your body. It's really good for you.
You freeze your ass off.
You freeze your ass off. Yeah. But it's interesting, and if you do your research, you'll say, well, there's things that happen that are good. So when I actually have an infrared sauna, and I didn't do that today because there wasn't time. Right. But so what I'll do is I'll do the sauna, which causes my arterial system to dilate. It actually gets bigger. Right. And then I do the cold shower, and it constricts, and it's like doing a push-up for my arterial system.
I have a friend who owns a salon, not called a salon, excuse me, Pure Sweat. It's up here in Kennedy Township, and she's got a couple infrared saunas in there, and that's all they do. It's just, that's the technology she's bought into. That's her thing.
Yeah, I have one, yeah.
Very cool.
It's cool, very cool. And
very
so,
cool.
Again, when you do an infrared sauna or any kind of a sauna, your body goes through chemical. Remember, it's not your body; it's reactive, and it's reacting to the stimuli.
Right.
And so, again, car salesman, not a doctor, but do your own research.
Sure.
But I believe in the sauna, and I do it as often as I can. And then the cold shower this morning, I did a very intense. I mean, it was intense because my HRV was my HRV Elite told me I was at 10. That's the highest number you can get. And so what you want to do is you want to take that 10 and work real hard, and maybe tomorrow morning I'll wake up and it's a 2.
Got it.
And that would be like, this is no good. So you go, it's the workout is not the benefits of the workout occur in the recovery.
Got it.
That's what Mark Sisson's going to tell you.
Yeah,
he's a workout nut.
Exactly right. Yeah.
He's a nut.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he goes, I think, too far in my opinion. And he's backed off on that, by the way. He messed up. He was a marathoner, and it's just
right.
Nobody should be running marathons. I'm sorry, I'm a runner.
He
should not be running marathons.
Staunchly against that. He thinks he did more damage to his body.
He has heart problems.
Yeah,
he does, and so do I, by the way. So I got to fix that, right? So I'm working on fixing that, and that's why I do these different things, is to remediate those circumstances that I've created, because everything is my fault, internal locus of control.
Absolutely.
Keep getting back to that. And so if I have problems with this body here, it's because I messed up. Not because my dad messed up. Not because my mom messed up, because I messed up. You know,
and that's a philosophy, and that's something I think that more of society needs, and that's part of personal responsibility.
Epigenetics. Have you studied epigenetics?
I have not.
Okay, so genes are genes, right? And they say you can't change genes. Well, they're finding out that's not true.
Yeah.
Epigenetics means that by taking lifestyle actions, you can alter the expression of your bad genes.
Yeah,
and you can change them.
I heard that.
So I have when I did a test called 23andMe, which is you find out whether you have I think they're called polymorphisms or something like that. And so one of the things that showed for me is I have a 10% chance of getting type 2 diabetes. Oh, I don't want that. Oh, I hate that. Ooh. So they said, okay, 10% chance according to your genes of getting type 2 diabetes, right? So they said, now tell us about your lifestyle. Do you do this? No. Yeah, smoke, drink, what's your weight, blah, blah, blah. It went from 10% chance of getting type 2 diabetes to 2% chance, just with the lifestyle changes. So, I'm on that, and I see that, and I understand it, and I don't want it, and I hate it. I don't want it. And so Fruit Loops do not belong in the body of Jim Shorkey.
They don't belong in the body of anybody.
So when you ask me,
especially kids,
when you ask me about philosophy, so here's my philosophy: don't eat Fruit Loops.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It sounds like a catch, but it really is an overarching theme. Is when I look at these Fruit Loops, is this good for?
Yeah.
If you think about it, like, what are we saying to our maker when we treat what was made so disrespectfully?
It's the only place we had to live, pal.
What are we saying? Like, your mom and dad, they brought you into this world. What are you saying to them? Like, hey, Mom, I don't care. I'm going to eat Fruit Loops. I don't care. What are you saying? Like, what's your level of respect to the world?
We're treating our temple like a trash can.
We are. We need to stop. We need to stop. You need
that goes for the mind, too.
You need to stop hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. You just need to stop. And that makes perfect sense, right? But the Fruit Loops are the same thing. They're the same thing. I like Cinnabon too. I do. It doesn't belong in my body. It's Fruit Loops. Yes, of course I like fast food. It's being engineered to be liked. And if you go eat fast food today, you're going to like it. Why? Because you're being played.
Yep.
I don't eat fast food. Not happening. Won't happen. Why? 122, man.
It's being manufactured in a way to condition you to want more.
There's no question about it. You're being played.
Eat that one hamburger, and there's just something in that bun or in that quasi meat that just wants you to have another one.
And I can tell you right now that I know there's people on this. They're going to listen to this, and they're going to hear me repeatedly say you're being played, and they don't like that. Well, tough crap. You are. You're being played.
Right.
You're being played, and you got to stop being played, because that being played is the external locus of control, and you end up very, very sick and lonely and broke and all that. I mean, just listen to Jim Rohn. I'm not the only one preaching this message.
No.
You, my friend, are being played by the food industry. You're being played by a lot of different industries out there. And I don't think, like the medical profession, I don't think they're interested in us being healthy. I think they're interested in us being...
There's no money.
There's no money in health. There's money in sick. So type 2 diabetes... We have all this conversation. You're getting me rolling now, man. You have all this conversation.
I'm glad to hear that.
All this conversation about COVID-19. All this conversation. Why aren't we talking about type 2 diabetes, which is a scourge? Talk about pandemics. 1.2 million people, look it up, are going to die in 2020 from type 2 diabetes or complications thereof, and it is completely avoidable. Now, that's a bunch of bullcrap.
Yep.
Why is it that we have all this conversation about COVID-19, but yet we sell cigarettes in this country?
Still.
Why is that? Why? I'm sorry, I don't understand it. But I understand it. It's the right and all that, but why is it that I don't have a right to live my life according to how I want to handle COVID-19? I don't have that right, but I have the right to buy cigarettes because that's a protected right. Why is that? Why is it that I have the right to eat Fruit Loops today and end up with type 2 diabetes because that's a protected right?
Or hard liquor.
Or hard liquor. Yeah, it just blows me. I don't drink at all. I have a drinking problem. I don't drink. I haven't drank since December 26, 1993. And so I just decided I have a drinking problem, right? And so I decided, okay, I'm listening to Og Mandino and Wayne Dyer and Napoleon Hill and Zig Ziglar, and it's like it became very apparent early on that, you know, alcohol was going this way and self-development was going this way. And I said, you know what, I'm going to...
They're not incongruent.
No, they're totally incongruent.
Anyone thinks that they are incongruent,
no,
they are not.
No. Alcohol does not belong in your body.
No.
And it just doesn't. And the idea of 1 or 2 drinks a day and all that crap, you read the science on that, read it. And every single time they will tell you, if you don't drink, don't start. In spite of the, 4 ounces of wine for women, 8 ounces for men, whatever that number is. If you don't drink, don't start. They all tell you the same thing. Why is that, right? And so there's all kinds of things we can do to get healthy. But we like the alcohol thing because that's what we like.
Well, of course.
We forget the blueberries and the broccoli, but we're going to drink the wine because that's going to help. The second thing is when we drink alcohol at night before we go to bed, it disrupts our sleep. I know it puts us to sleep, but it also wakes us up later on in the night. I don't drink alcohol, period. But anyways, I started on this plan of not drinking alcohol. My goal was to not drink for 30 days. That led to 60 days, and I'm backing out of the driveway one day. Talk about philosophy. Backing out of the driveway. My children are in the car. My wife is in the car. I'm backing out of the driveway. My daughter, Katie, says to me, she says, Dad, I'm so proud of you that you're not drinking. And she said, it always bothered me when you drank. And I couldn't even wrap my brain around that.
Yeah.
I stopped the car.
Powerful is that?
I stopped the car, put it in park, and I said, Katie, what did you just say? And she said, I'm so happy that you're not drinking. It always bothered me when you drank. And I said, oh, Katie, I said, I'm so sorry. It's my daughter, 13 years old, 12 years old. I said, I never knew that. I said, well, I'll tell you what, Kate, I promise you, I'll never drink again. And I never did.
That's powerful. That's a powerful message there.
So what do you do when you promise your daughter? You know what I mean? So, but as I stopped drinking alcohol, I could see the benefits of not drinking alcohol, but I could also look back on the things I did under the influence of alcohol, because I really do believe there's a circle where the alcohol was in the circle, right? And so when you're in the circle, you can't see what's going on because you're being influenced by the alcohol. Once I got outside that circle and I could look back inside it, I was like, man, dude, you were messed up.
Yeah.
You had a problem.
The clarity is not possible when you're involved in it.
You're inebriated.
You have to be out of it.
You had to get out. I had to get out of it. So I got out of it and was able to look back in it. And then as I could see the benefit. The relationships got better. Business got better. The bank account got better. Everything.
Being on your game.
Being on my game.
Mental game. I mean, that's the thing now. I think that my friends and that I grew up with, everybody wants to be on their game. Well, they're not leading lifestyles that are going to keep them on their game.
I'm not hungover this morning, and I'm so happy and grateful for that because I know what that felt like. It was like literally like I gave myself the flu or food poisoning, whatever. So anyway, again, car salesman, not a doctor. for me, it was very apparent that I needed, and I'm not being judgmental of anybody, it's none of my business, but at the end of the day, Augmandina was going this way, alcohol was going that way. The guy was, by the way, a severe alcoholic, was homeless, living out of his cart, had decided to commit suicide.
Right.
And he said no, and he started into self-development. And what a lovely man. What a lovely, lovely, lovely man. So Wayne Dyer was a confirmed alcoholic. I don't know about Zig Ziglar. Maybe you know more about that.
I don't remember that being an issue with him.
A lot of them are.
I mean, Rome was. I think Rome lived a pretty good life. He died of lung cancer, and he said the only possible way I could have gotten that was traveling to third world countries and giving speeches, and maybe he picked it up there because he was a non-smoker and the whole bit.
Yeah. They never said.
You never know.
I'm surprised you know that, because I've looked that up, and it was some kind of a bronchial condition, but they never say cancer.
Lung cancer.
Yeah,
it was definitely lung cancer. Yeah, in December of '09, and that was a tough one for me. He was, massive changes in my life because of that man, and I wonder if you knew this. He was Tony Robbins' original mentor. Yeah. And I never got anything out of Anthony because I think it was too rah-rah for me. The message works, I guess, but Rome was that comforting old, kind of like your grandfather or your uncle sitting down having a conversation with you. Well, so it resonated with me. It worked for me.
You have to decide what works for you and what you want to be,
Right.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. People say to me, "Well, Jim, don't you want to be a billionaire?" No, I don't. I really don't. It's just not. It's not something I want to be. I think it's too expensive. So I like having money, but there's a point where
there's a cost
for me,
involved.
It's a cost. Yeah, it's too expensive. It's an expensive cost.
Right.
So no, I don't want that. And
Rowan didn't either. I think when he saw Anthony do the thing, he just kind of let him go, and he just did his own thing.
But a lot of what he does, when you look between the lines, does great things, by the way, and helps a lot of people. But man, the guy, I think he's playing games with his sleep.
There's no question.
And it's just not good. I listen to, he goes all day, and then he's up at, I hear these people. I'll hear people say, I was watching a young lady, and beautiful young lady, and she's being mentored by somebody who I don't want to name.
Right.
And she's actually, I'm watching her. She's doing a video at 12 o'clock. And then the next day she's doing another video proudly talking about how she's up at 5 o'clock in the morning studying.
Right.
No.
You have to sleep.
No. You have to sleep. You have to protect your sleep. So you should be in bed 10 o'clock-ish and wake up at 5 or 6 or 11 and whatever,
Right.
You got to sleep, man. That's
and it's got to be good sleep.
Good sleep, yeah. I measure that. I measure my sleep every night with the Oura Ring. And I look at data on that. I look at data on my Elite HRV. I look at data on my keto. I look at data on my my EKG. I measure. I'll weigh myself every day.
Right.
So I know what the parameters are that I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure
you have the data.
I have the data. Yeah. Today I was at 10, so I went hard, and I'm probably done for the day. Oh, here's a neat thing. Like my watch here. So this is telling me that I should be moving right now, right?
Got it, yeah.
And so because I can't do it, but I honor that. So this will say move, and it's actually measuring my movement. So if I move my arm enough, it's cheating. It'll clear it. It'll say move bar clear.
Right.
So because I do talk with my hands, but if I was home right now, and a big enemy of us as human beings is the sedentary existence.
No
Again,
question.
Evolutionary mismatch. We never did that.
Right.
So we didn't have it. There was no place to sit.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So, anyways, we this thing tells me to move, and I honor it. And so what I'll do is Amy and I'll be playing Scrabble, and it'll buzz. They move, and I say, "Oh, gotta go do my steps." So I'll just walk now because it's nice. I'll walk outside, out to the driveway and back. And you're really probably talking about 200 steps. But it's a strategy.
No question.
Don't you see it? It's a strategy.
Sure it is.
So you and I probably should have got up while we were doing this interview. Obviously, we can't do that. And we should have, because we're sitting too long.
Right.
This is not good.
Right.
Now, let me tell you something.
I agree with you.
Sitting is an action. Sitting is an action. You're always in action. The problem with sitting, it's not a good action.
No, it's
not. It's just not.
It's not.
So evolutionary mismatch. But you're always, no action is an action. No action is an action. There's a philosophy for you. No action is an action. So when you're not in action, you think you're not in action, but you're always in action. It's just a question of which action you're in. Sedentary lifestyle is an active lifestyle. It's just
the
bad
wrong
actions.
Right.
And
exactly
so
right.
bad actions bad results. Good actions, good results.
Right.
We've got to get this good actions at minimum 80%, 20% bad actions. Ideally, 90-10. And of course, if we could go to perfection, that'd be great. But I think you drive yourself crazy with that. So throw in a few Fruit Loops once in a while, right? Once a month. No, I don't do.
How can they reach you, Bao? How can our listeners and our viewers? How can they reach you and find out about the system?
So my Facebook handle is James Shorkey Jr. I'm named after my father. My son is the third.
The third.
So it's James Shorkey Jr. is where I'm at on Facebook. I do Facebook Live every morning at 9 o'clock in the morning.
How about that? Every morning.
Yeah. 9 o'clock in the morning.
Monday through Friday or Monday through Monday?
I do Monday through Friday.
Okay.
I give a break on the weekends. And I also do a quote of the day, which takes about 6 to 9 minutes, let's say. And like there was a quote the other day that I came across by Woody Allen, success is 80% showing up. That's a bunch of bull crap. Don't buy that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. First of all, there's nothing about success that's 80%. Nothing.
No.
It's like success is 80% diet. No, it's not. It's 10% diet, 10% movement, 10% sleep. It's the combination of a lot of 10%ers. But Woody Allen, first of all, he's full of crap because he didn't just show up.
No.
He went to school.
He
studied. He practiced.
Effort.
Did you ever listen to Joe Rogan talk about how he does a bit for a comedic bit? I mean, it's a half an hour, but it takes him hours upon hours upon days upon days to come up with 1.5 hour thing. So if 80% was showing up, then everybody be doing what you're doing. Just show up.
I think too. It's just people use that because I think nothing starts if you don't go. Put your dress clothes on. Get out of bed. At least make the initial effort to get out of bed, I guess, because that's my thing. Rudimentarily, too many people are. When I say get out of bed, you could be laying around.
I agree, but if I show up today in a bad mood, am I still going to be successful?
No.
If I show up today hungover, if I show up today late,
no, I got it.
Showing up is yes,
part of it.
Of course you have to show up.
Part of it.
But to say that it's 80% when in fact he never did that. He didn't go to a tryout for a part and just show up.
Right.
No way.
Right.
So he's full of crap. It's a bad quote, and I'll tell you what.
Woody Allen actually is quoted as saying that.
Yeah. A lot of people say that, but it's not a good quote. So anyways, I do a quote of the day. Long answer to your question. Quote of the day.
Yeah.
Try to do that 7 days a week. I missed one on Friday because I was traveling to Deep Creek. I just couldn't get it in, and my phone wasn't working. Didn't get it done. Typically 7 out of 7, 6 out of 7 days. I do a quote. Takes about 6 to 9 minutes, and so that's Facebook Live as well. And so you can find me at James Shorkey Jr. on Facebook. Facebook Live, as I said, our company that we're creating, in the process of creating, is called Results from Thinking.
Right.
So you can find us at resultsfromthinking.com. The program that we've created is called Rethink You, which I just love. And guess what? Jim Shorkey right now today is rethinking Jim Shorkey. And that's how I'm going to get to where I want to get to because, back to the Albert Einstein quote, if insanity, keep doing what you're doing and expect different results or something like that.
Right.
If we're going to make change and we're going to improve our results, we've got to change who we are. We've got to change our thinking. And based on changing our thinking, we got to change our feelings about that thinking. And then based on changing our feelings about that thinking, we've got to change our actions because actions produce results. And so at the end of the day, there is this thing called the law of action, which actions produce results, good actions, good results, bad actions, bad results, and the law of compensation. So I never did finish that. So the law of compensation is I will be compensated. And this is the part that people miss. We think in terms of being compensated in a positive manner, but we don't think about being compensated in a negative manner. So if you keep eating the Fruit Loops, you're going to be compensated for those Fruit Loops in a negative manner.
Right.
They're going to take money from you.
Right.
You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your marriage. You're going to be lonely based on the stupid crap that you did.
Yeah.
So that's the law of compensation. It's not just getting a raise. It's not just that. That's what a lot of people think about the law of compensation. You're going to be compensated based on your actions, and if you do too many stupid things, hitting yourself in the head with a hammer, then you're going to have big trouble. So the law of compensation is the do-all, end-all for me, and so I've got to I want to make sure I'm compensated the way I want to be compensated, with the passion, the health, the love, the abundance, and the joy. And I got to make sure that I'm not compensated the way I don't want to be, which is the apathy, the illness, the loneliness, the poverty, and the sadness. I don't want that. So the law of compensation will provide me with what I don't want if I keep doing stupid crap. And the law of compensation will provide me with what I do want if I start doing intelligent crap. Stuff. Not crap, stuff. So you got to do the push-ups, dude. That's it. You got to do the push-ups. You got to do the work.
Right.
You got to do the work.
Right.
You got to do the work. That's it. That's the secret.
And that is the secret. That's the real secret. Yeah. I mean, visualization and positive attitude is all part of it, but without action, nothing happens.
Action.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that that the action is the centerfold of what you are about, sir.
It is, man. It is.
Because there's a lot of you see them. There's a lot of, I won't say nonsense, but there's a lot of people that are toting plans and ideas and motivational skill sets and so forth that are not high on action, and it just blows my mind that people buy into that stuff.
Well, because it's the easy way out, right? 80% of success is showing up.
Doesn't work, though.
I know, but that sells books, right? So I don't want to sell books. I don't want to sell videos and whatnot. That's not my goal.
Right.
My goal is to help one very important person today. Okay, and that very important person might be you, might not be. I might leave you and say, "Well, what a freaking idiot he was." That could be. I'm okay with that, but I want to help one very important person today. Okay, and that would bring me great joy. I already have everything I need. I make a lot of money. I drive nice cars. I live in a nice house. I've got a great family. I have everything I need. It's time for me to give back. So I want to help one person today. Right. If I do that to where, who knows, I might be talking to the next president of the United States of America today. And I know what you're thinking. I'm a mind reader. Through you, because you don't know what the butterfly effect is.
That's exactly right.
So I could be
talking doing this show.
I could be talking to the next president of the United States through you,
right? Through
the impact that you have,
right? Or
through the impact that maybe somebody who listens to this has downstream, and it could be 30 years from now, and this person is the president of the United States because of this little discussion here.
Right.
So that would obviously bring me great joy. But the one person is my goal. 10x would be just really, really lovely. 100x will be incredible. I think it's going to be 1,000,000x. I really do. And will I make money doing this? I think I will, but that's not why I'm here.
Right.
I'm not here to sell books today.
Right.
The Secret was a great idea to sell a whole bunch of books. And guess who bought The Secret?
I get it.
And I don't agree with it. I don't. I really don't. So, I mean, throw some darts at me. That's okay. I'm cool with that. I don't agree with it. I think it's the law of action. I think what I would say about that, if I do the law of action in the right way, and there is such a thing as the law of attraction, truly, molecular chemical thing called the law of attraction, I'll be subject to it based on my life philosophy. I will be able to take advantage of it. I think there's too much focus on the law of attraction, not enough focus on the law of action. Okay,
fair enough.
That's what I think. And so I'm going to focus on the law of action. If there is such a thing as the law of attraction, I will benefit from it, and so will you, based on the actions. So I'll take my chances.
Jim, I appreciate it. This was great. This was great. I needed this too. I've been looking forward to this one, and any chance I get to talk about Napoleon Hill and James Rohn and with someone who is knowledgeable and who has them as part of their story, that's always good stuff for me.
And I'll close with this. Let me tell you something. I needed this too. I needed this too. I always need this, and so I have doubts. And I get down, and I'm not sure, who wants to listen to me? Who am I? Who am I? I have doubts. So, but I was a fellow, his name's Larry Fagan, and he sent me, through one of my videos, he sent me 10 comments, right? And I answer every single comment. So if you watch my video and you make a comment, I'm going to answer it, right?
Right.
And I'm doing this, answering these comments, and I got to the very bottom. He says, "I knew you wouldn't be able to answer all these comments," and I said, "Oh no, I absolutely can." And I thought about that, and I thought, the one person, right? The one person. I thought, well, I didn't realize what I was doing. When I'm answering these comments, I'm doing affirmations.
Yes, no
to
question.
This guy here.
No question.
So you're saying to me, what do you mean by that law of action? I say, well, here's what it means. And I'm affirming in Jim Shorkey's head because I have to write this. I have to type it out. And I'm a terrible typer. And it's like, oh, crap, I spelled that wrong. And so, but I'm changing my brain. I didn't understand the emojis. But when I send you an emoji, it makes me feel good.
Right.
It's a smiley face, a thumbs up, a prayer hands. It makes me feel good. Number one. It makes the person I send it to feel good, right? And so I didn't realize, I actually talked about that on my video this morning, that if you send me a comment and I read that, it's hitting here.
Right.
I have to read it and digest it. And so that makes me feel good. And it probably made you feel good as well because you had to write it, right?
Absolutely.
And then you send me the emojis and it's like, oh, that's cool. And it's cool for you, cool for me. And then I respond, which makes me feel good. But then you have to read my response, which makes you feel good. So I was thinking about Larry Fagan and and I said, you know what? This is how we're going to do this.
Right.
With these comments, because I have a feeling if 8 billion people started sending positive comments to each other with emojis and responding back and forth, we might solve a lot of problems in the world with that one idea. Just let's quit tearing each other up. Like, hey, man, Eric, it was so nice to meet you today and talk to you. You did a great job. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, thumbs up, prayer hands, green heart, whatever. And it feels good to do this. And it feels good to acknowledge that you did a great job. And it feels good to say for example, you just said thank you. That feels good. You see where I'm going with that? And I didn't realize that till just this morning. It was an epiphany. Like, wow, this is really cool. It's not a waste of time. No. It's not a waste of time.
No, it's human interaction.
So this is maybe
valid.
Maybe this is the purpose. Like I have I do birthdays on Facebook. And I take so I have like I think 20 today. Haven't done them yet because there was no time. So when I get home today, at some point I will do those birthdays and I will say happy birthday, Eric, and I'll put my emojis on there. And I just think it's a nice thing to do.
Certainly.
I think it's a nice thing to do.
I would agree.
And these are Facebook friends who don't know me from a cake of soap, but I just think it's a nice thing to do. And you know what? Maybe I made somebody's day.
It's a subtle introduction too.
Well, yeah. That's not why I'm doing it. I mean, what's the harm in saying, you know what, happy birthday.
Well, it's the right
enjoy
thing
your
to
day.
Do. It's the kind thing to do.
But the part that I didn't get till just today is that I understand that it makes you feel good, but I didn't think about it making me feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then somebody texts back, messages back, thank you so much. That's very kind. And I say back, it's my pleasure. Some more thumbs ups, some more prayer, whatever, and I get one more crack at my own brain.
Got it.
See,
got it.
Things get better when Jim Shorkey gets better. Okay?
Amen to that.
So it's a process of getting better that I didn't understand until just this morning when I was answering Larry Fagan. And it's a powerful thing. Saying nice things to people.
It sure is.
It's a powerful thing.
It sure
and
is.
having nice things said to you.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful thing.
Peace. Peace. Thank you, sir. This is awesome.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
Jim Shorkey Jr.
Yeah, I never looked at the camera once.
Facebook. It's Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
is your video series.
And I forgot to say the program is Rethink You.
Right.
And that's available at resultsfromthinking.com. And there's a lot of free content there, stuff you can download, all kinds of stuff. Free. There's a free ebook there. A lot of stuff we do. We just want to get this message out in the most economical way that we can. This is how we're going to change the world.
Good
Jim
stuff.
Shorkey's not making money at all. Not a dime. Not yet. Someday I will. Not today.
Right on.
I'm following. By the way, guess who taught me that? Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn.
Help enough people get what they want, and you can have everything, right?
Well, that's Ziggy, but
yeah, I think Rohn stole that from Zig.
Yeah, he might. Well, he was. Well, you know what?
They were tight. Those two guys were tight.
He was. They were big fans, but Jim Rohn did what he did is. You remember he tells a story about speaking, and he did it for free.
Oh, with the Kiwanis clubs and all that.
Yeah, and he was at the lectern. And somebody said, go out from behind the lectern.
Right.
And he said, I got from behind the lectern. I didn't know how to get back. And he tells that story. Like, it was like, oh, no, now what? You know, I didn't know how to get back. You know, he was like, oh, geez. But what a great guy. Absolutely. What a lovely, lovely, lovely man. Love that guy.
It's an amazing part of my story.
Plain speaking kind of guy. Harry Truman type guy.
You got it.
You know? Cool guy.
Thank you, buddy.
Good stuff, man.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Friends, we're
signing off.
Out.